Unraveling childhood trauma to find the real you. Welcome to the Soft Girl Era podcast, where we exhale the weight of survival and inhale the sweetness of softness, rest, and radical self love. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French, and I'm here to guide you from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft, and loving every second of it. Today, I had the absolute honor of sitting down with Vanessa Juarez, a powerhouse who is changing lives by helping Black professionals, leaders, and entrepreneurs unravel childhood trauma to find the real them. Vanessa's work is nothing short of revolutionary. She's not just talking about healing, she's creating pathways for people to reclaim their authentic power, to shed the layers of pain that systemic racism has piled on since childhood, and to step boldly into their soft girl era. Her mission is rooted in truth, vulnerability, and the kind of courage that says, I'm done hiding, I'm done performing, I'm ready to be free. And if that doesn't light a fire in your soul, I don't know what will. So let's dive in because what Vanessa shared with me isn't just information, it's transformation. And I want you to feel every word of this. Here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Childhood trauma, especially the kind rooted in systemic racism, doesn't just hurt you when you're young, it buries you. It buries the real you under layers of shame, fear, and survival instincts that were never supposed to define your entire life. Adverse childhood experiences, what we call ACEs, are the invisible wounds that Black children carry because the world decided their Blackness was a problem before they even knew their own names. Vanessa talked about this with such clarity during our interview. She said that childhood trauma from systemic racism doesn't just live in your memory, it lives in your body, in your decisions, in the way you shrink yourself in rooms where you should be taking up space. It's in the way you overwork to prove your worth. It's in the way you say yes when your soul is screaming no. It's in the way you apologize for existing, for speaking, for daring to believe you deserve softness. But here's the beautiful, powerful truth that Vanessa wants you to know. Unraveling that trauma reveals your unbreakable power. When you do the work to peel back those layers, when you face the pain that racism planted in your childhood, you don't just heal. You discover who you were always meant to be. You find the real you, the you that's been waiting underneath all that survival, the you that's been whispering, I'm still here, I'm still whole, I'm still worthy. Let me share a story that Vanessa brought to my attention, and I need you to really sit with this one. There was a Black child growing up in an urban family in the US, and from the very beginning, this child was labeled. Teachers called them aggressive, peers bullied them. The school system disciplined them harder than their white classmates for the same behavior. And slowly, quietly, this child began to believe the lies. They internalized the stereotypes. They developed anxiety, low self worth, and mental health struggles that nobody diagnosed because nobody was looking for trauma in a Black child. They were looking for a problem to fix. This child grew up witnessing their parents endure racism, feeling the weight of poverty linked ACEs, and carrying shame that didn't even belong to them. The shame of being too loud, too visible, too Black. The shame of needing help but being told to be strong. The shame of crying and being told to toughen up. And that shame became armor, heavy armor that protected nothing but kept everything out, including joy, including rest, including love. But here's where the story shifts. This child, now an adult, found therapy. They unpacked those ACs. They embraced time alone for self reflection, even though it was terrifying, even though sitting with themselves meant facing every lie they'd been told, every wound they'd buried, every version of themselves they'd abandoned just to survive. And they transformed. They went from a withdrawn student to a confident advocate, earning academic scholarships and leading community mental health talks. They inspired family wide healing and reduced intergenerational trauma in their community. That's what unraveling childhood trauma looks like. That's what finding the real you looks like. That's what happens when you stop running and start remembering. Now, Vanessa also talked about something that made me pause, and I want you to pause with me right now. She said that time alone, though scary, is your sacred space to confront and heal racial trauma, emerging as the best version of yourself. Let me tell you something. Time alone can feel like punishment when you've spent your whole life running from your thoughts. When you've been taught that being still means being weak, that resting means you're lazy, that silence means you're not doing enough. But Vanessa is here to tell you, and I'm here to echo it, that time alone is not punishment, it's permission. Permission to sit with yourself, permission to cry, permission to ask the hard questions, permission to finally meet the real you. Because here's what happens when you avoid that time alone: you stay busy, you stay distracted, you stay performing, you stay surviving. And survival is exhausting. Survival is not living. Survival is holding your breath underwater and calling it swimming. There was another story Vanessa shared about a Black youth in Canada who experienced chronic racial discrimination in education, workplaces, and neighborhoods. The prevalence of discrimination in education alone was over 60%. 60%. This young person developed depression, PTSD, and stress symptoms that disrupted their entire development. The weight of repetitive prejudice, combined with intergenerational trauma, created what researchers call racial trauma. And it's higher in Black individuals because the world keeps handing us the same wounds over and over again. But this young person didn't stay stuck. They found interventions that targeted race based traumatic stress. They used solitude, intentional time alone to process the chronic exposure to racism and to build resilience against stigma. They sat with their pain. They named it. They refused to let it define them. And they didn't just heal themselves, they rose to become a clinician influenced advocate, publishing research on stress patterns and securing policy changes for BIPOC mental health. They advanced the recognition of racial trauma in public health and dismantled inequities for Black professionals nationwide. That's the power of doing the work. That's the power of embracing your soft girl era, not as an escape, but as a reclamation, not as weakness, but as warfare against everything that told you to stay small. Now, let's talk about the third thing Vanessa wants you to remember. And this one hits different. Unresolved shame and internalized racism from childhood fuel anxiety and depression, but bold action dismantles them for lasting freedom. Shame is a liar. Shame tells you that you're too much and not enough at the same time. Shame tells you that the racism you experienced was somehow your fault. Shame tells you to keep quiet, keep small, keep performing. Shame whispers, if you were just better, smarter, quieter, more palatable, maybe they'd treat you like a human being. And that lie, that toxic, soul crushing lie, keeps you trapped. But Vanessa's here to tell you that bold action, the kind of action that says, I'm going to face this, I'm going to name this, I'm going to heal from this. That action dismantles shame brick by brick. Bold action is therapy. Bold action is boundary setting. Bold action is saying no without explanation. Bold action is choosing yourself even when the world has conditioned you to choose everyone else first. There was a Black child who witnessed vicarious racism against their parents. They saw their mom treated with condescension at the grocery store, at the bank, at the school. They watched their dad pulled over for no reason, hands on the steering wheel, fear in his eyes. And then systemic factors like higher Black incarceration rates caused parental loss. This child had to take on sibling caregiving roles. They lived with elevated cortisol from fearing violence. They developed trust issues, anxiety, and depression. The ACEs compounded into hopelessness, into the belief that this is just how life is for people like us. But this child, now an adult, found shame focused therapy. They used alone time to rebuild safety and self trust. They learned that their parents' trauma was not their fault. They learned that survival mode was a response, not a personality. They learned that they could put down the weight they'd been carrying since they were 6 years old, and they overcame. They evolved into a thriving entrepreneur, launching mental health initiatives for foster youth and breaking trauma cycles boldly. They reduced PTSD rates in similar Black communities by modeling trauma recovery and empowering leaders to prioritize healing. That's what bold action looks like. That's what dismantling shame looks like. That's what finding the real you looks like. That's what happens when you stop apologizing for taking up space and start building a world where your existence is celebrated, not tolerated. Vanessa's work is rooted in this belief that you are not your trauma. You are not the labels that racism tried to stick on you. You are not the survival mode you've been living in. You are powerful. You are whole. You are worthy of softness, rest, and joy. You are worthy of a life that doesn't require you to prove your humanity every single day. And here's what I want you to understand: healing is not a luxury, it's not something you get to when you have time, when you have money, when you have permission. Healing is your birthright. Healing is the most radical thing you can do in a world that profits from your pain. Healing is the rebellion, healing is the revolution. So here's what I need you to do. Not next week, not when things slow down, not when you feel ready. Right now, I need you to carve out intentional time alone this week. No distractions, no phone, no Netflix, no scrolling, no numbing, just you and a journal. And I want you to write down one childhood trauma tied to racism, just one. The memory that still makes your chest tight the moment you realized you were different and different meant less. The wound you've been carrying in silence because you thought no one would understand. Write it down, and then I want you to affirm your real powerful self. Say it out loud. I am not what happened to me. I am who I choose to become. I am worthy of healing. I am worthy of softness. I am worthy of my soft girl era. I am not too much. I am not enough. I am exactly who I need to be. And the world is better because I'm in it. Do the work. Black excellence is waiting for you, but it's not waiting in the hustle. It's not waiting in the grind. It's not waiting in the performance. It's waiting in the healing. It's waiting in the softness. It's waiting in the quiet, sacred space where you finally meet yourself and say, I see you. I love you. I choose you. This is the soft girl era. This is the sacred pause Black women have been waiting for. This is not a trend, it's a lifestyle rebellion. A deep exhale from the Superwoman script, a quiet but powerful return to softness, rest, self trust, and radical joy. Vanessa Juarez is leading this charge, and I'm so grateful she shared her wisdom with us today. Her work is changing the world, one healed heart at a time. And if you're hearing this right now, if you're feeling the weight of childhood trauma, if you're tired of performing, if you're ready to find the real you, then this message is for you. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are not too much or not enough. You are exactly who you need to be. And the real you, the you that's been buried under survival and shame and silence, that you is ready to rise, that you is ready to rest, that you is ready to be free. So I'm asking you to make a choice today. Choose healing over hustle. Choose softness over survival. Choose yourself unapologetically, boldly, radically. Because the world doesn't need another version of you that's performing. The world needs the real you, the healed you, the soft, powerful, unshakable you. Take a breath, take up space, take your time, and take back your power. The revolution starts with you choosing you. And that choice, that one brave, beautiful choice, changes everything. Welcome to your soft girl era. Welcome home.